Hello out to all you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear, listening into another Gamer's Thoughts discussion. And this time we're going to talk about how the Steam Deck is going to put the Nintendo Switch 6 feet under. Not. Now, I can understand people being excited for the Steam Deck and excited for the possibilities of the Steam Deck. I'm not knocking that in any way, shape, or form. But I am here to knock some common sense into the people that just automatically assume because the Steam Deck is a thing, it's automatically going to be popular enough to end the Switch in the gaming marketplace. One, you shouldn't even be wanting it to end the Switch in the gaming marketplace. You don't want a less diverse gaming marketplace. That's stupid. Because we already see the results of that. We see copy and paste games on almost every platform. Now, there's nothing wrong with a developer making a game and spreading it across platforms. Back in the day, we used to get different iterations of different franchises on different platforms. Basically, games that were developed to suit those platforms. All from the same company. And they were prosperous for the most part. So that it kind of sucks when that's all you see for the most part is copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. So no, you do not want a gaming market without at least some diversity in it. And I mean things being different between the companies. Microsoft and Sony systems are really not too different when you break it down to the bare minimum of things between them. That's just how it is. Now, the Steam Deck looks like it'll be a worthwhile machine for those who invest their time and energy into it and their money. But to say the Steam Deck is going to be the Switch killer, it's not the brightest thing to think of. Now, no one's going to argue that the specs in the Switch are on par with the Steam Deck or in any way, shape, or form. Nobody's arguing that. But if we're talking about it, causing the Switch to lose popularity, there is no way that's going to happen. One, there are already machines out that are far superior to the Switch. Far superior to the Switch on the marketplace right now. You can look them up. The One X player is a great example of one. And it is close to the cost range of the higher tiered Switch deck. So we're not going to use the excuse of it being way too expensive. If people want to spend the money on the stuff, it's there. And PC gaming enthusiasts have always touted that they want the biggest, baddest, and the best in any way, any form that they can get. And the One X player would be exactly that. Or at least it would be comparable to that. It would far outclass the Steam Deck as far as I can tell from the specs. That said, we know the Steam Deck does, again, outclass the Switch, no questions asked. No matter which version of it you get. Because the specs are the same across the board, outside of the storage. That is as simple as that. But the Steam Deck also does run at low wattage like the Switch does. It's 11 watts on the low end and 20 on the high end. So maybe a little bit more performance than the Switch in its handheld form. Now, the Steam Deck at its base price, at its entry point price, which is $399.99 or $400 to make it simple, is twice the price of that of the entry level Switch, which is the Switch Lite. The Switch that has to connect to other switches in order to be able to be a part of multiplayer. The Switch that stands alone is for an individual person to play, and you can play pretty much every game on it. No questions asked. I think there's maybe one or two that don't play specifically, but not very many. And that's mostly just because it doesn't have the hardware for it to be done, like the controllers, the Joy-Cons specifically. But if I remember correctly, you can actually pair some Joy-Cons to it. I could be wrong. Someone can correct me on that if they know otherwise. I'm just saying. But that's a complete Switch out the box. You don't need anything else to play any games with it. It works. That's the baseline price. $200. Steam Deck's baseline is $400, which is also $100 more than the Xbox Series S, which, by all accounts, I believe is a more powerful machine. But it's also a home console. You don't have it portably. So that portability, having everything all in one, is a big factor in the price. And it's still a little bit more expensive than what would be considered the higher end costing Switch. The Switch OLED, which has yet to come out. Either way, it's still more costly to purchase that than a Nintendo Switch is. And if you don't have a Steam library, you might not want to get a Steam Deck. Because again, the layman's not going to think about, oh, I can take this and use it as a portable PC so I can wipe the OS from it, the Steam OS on it, and put Windows on it. A lot of people don't think that way. They're going to be like, oh, well, okay, I can just get this and I can just play games on it, right? Out the box, yes, you can. As long as you have stuff in your Steam library and you download them to it, yeah, you can play whatever you want. Out the box. In a nice 1280 by 800p resolution, low processing, on the go. You can do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But secondly, even with the OG Switch, it comes out the box being able to be hooked to a TV and being able to do multiplayer out the gate because of the Joy-Cons. That doesn't happen with the Steam Deck. You can't just do local multiplayer out the gate on that. It's not designed with that in mind. For that, you'll need a separate deck, which is something you have to purchase separately. It's not an option to purchase it separately. You have to purchase it separately. Meaning, if you want it to be able to be played as a home platform, you need a separate deck, and on top of that, you also need to purchase separate controllers. You legitimately have to do all of that in order to be able to use it in the same capacity you would use a Nintendo Switch. Out the box. So either way, your cost for this automatically goes up. Now, we don't know the pricing of the deck because Valve has yet to announce that. My guess is somewhere between $100 and $150 because they say it can boost the performance. And I mean like really boost the performance, like taking it from that 1280 by 800 to 4K and possibly even 8K on their speculation. Now I would assume that means that the higher resolutions can be done with, lower end games. Like games that don't require as much processing. They could just super boost the hell out of it. That's what my guess is. I could be wrong on that. But I don't think that anything that's current with the bloated file sizes and all will be able to be at that high range. Just my thought process there. Now, also, the Switch deck is not going to be available to mass market the same way as the Nintendo Switch is. That's the big problem, because even going by Jack Gaming Grounds, he pre-ordered a Steam Deck. He pre-ordered the highest end model, and he's possibly not getting his until, was it, third quarter of 2022, when the thing is supposed to launch in December of this year. And that's due to chip shortages, that they won't be able to have it out to mass market like that all that quickly. And again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because they'll get to mass market at some point. But I'm just saying the Switch has a long life ahead of it on the mass market versus the Steam Deck. Like, you just gotta think about it. It's already been out there. It's already been on the market for a while. It's close to 100 million users. Well, 100 million units sold. Not shipped, sold. There's no way right now for the Steam Deck to catch up to that. Now, if they can get it out to mass market by then, cool. But I'm going to assume it's only going to be the $400 model, if at all. It's not going to be the unit with the 256 gigabytes of SSD or the 512 SSD. It's not likely to be those. It's likely to be the units with the 64 gigabytes of internal RAM. I'm not RAM, storage. RAM is different. But yeah, if that's what's happening, that's probably the only model that's going to be available. Just temper your expectations. Don't think that this thing is just going to come out, blast everything off the table, and be the best thing out there. It's just not likely to happen. But it could still be a great machine. It doesn't have to be a Switch killer in order to do that. It doesn't have to overtake the Nintendo Switch in any way, shape, or form for that to be possible. And I think that's the biggest mistake people are making. They're throwing out so many things, so many words and assumptions, that they're not using their brains and thinking about what they're saying. They're just running with whatever dribble they hear somebody else say, and it's like, oh, sorry, my throat got dry there. Oh crap. But they're like, oh, that makes sense. Let's go with that. It doesn't always turn out that way. And you can't hinge all your bets on everything just because it's the more powerful platform. It's going to run shop. Honestly, historically speaking with gaming, that's usually not the case. It's a rarity if it ever does happen that the most powerful hardware is the hardware that sells the best. It's a super rarity. And I think people need to understand that a little bit better. And on top of that, in the arena of handheld, so far, Nintendo has yet to actually be touched. Sony came close with the PSP. I'm not going to lie. They came pretty close. But there was still a 70 million unit gap. That's the closest anyone has gotten. That's the closest anyone has gotten. And I think PSP sold so well because it was easy to mod. It was easy to mod the PSP. That's why it sold so well. But all of that aside, there are already alternatives out on the market that are more powerful and more capable than the Steam Deck. That you can get all of that performance that you want. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of that performance that you want. And the Steam Deck does not have to be a Switch killer, like I said, in order for it to be successful. And personally, I want it to be successful. I want it to be successful because I want there to be more competition out there in the handheld space that gets noticed and paid attention to. But not everything is going to work for everybody. So, hey, it's up to y'all to determine that by purchasing and getting these things. I'm pretty sure Valve is taking a hit on those things. There's no way they're just releasing it at that low price point to be comparable to the Switch with the hardware in it without them taking a hit. And Nintendo is selling their stuff for a profit, not a loss. So to be close in pricing like that, they have to be selling at a loss. And if people don't buy into Steam or purchase Steam products through this, or from this acquisition of these things, it doesn't do Valve any good, and they're likely to abandon it. So keep that in mind. And it's not like they have some sort of special exclusive to go with it. They just have their large Steam library, which again is great if you have a Steam account, but not if you don't. If you don't have a Steam account and you haven't been stockpiling games into it, this is almost useless to you. Unless you're one of the people that gets it and then takes off the Steam OS and puts Windows on it. But just remember, you do that, you're likely going to be killing your battery. Because I'm pretty sure Windows takes more processing than Steam OS does. And that might also be a knock to your performance without the Steam OS. So again, a lot of things to remember and consider. But I'm going to drop this here. You guys can give me your thoughts on the situation. Thank you very much for listening, and keep your eyes on yourself for more stuff from me. And until the next time, enjoy your games. Peace out, everybody.